and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicola, I'm a mum of two and I make lifestyle videos. And today is a little bit different. I've wanted to make this video for a little while. I love doing hauls and vlogs and what I eat in a day and cleaning and all that sort of stuff. But I feel like I started this channel to impart wisdom, to share little nuggets of advice and tips for life that maybe I might have gleaned over my 45 years on this earth. So I felt that I wanted to share some tips that I have for when you feel overwhelmed. A feeling of overwhelm or being overwhelmed can happen for a multitude of reasons, and I want to keep this video relatively light-hearted, or as light-hearted as it can be. I just want to share my advice. I am not an expert and I am not trained in any form of mental health or anything like that. I'm only giving advice from my own personal experience. So if you are feeling overwhelmed for some serious reasons, grief, bullying, in light of things that have happened over the past week, then there may be tips here that can help you, but generally I would say go and seek some advice. Speak to a doctor, speak to a friend, speak to a mental health professional, find somebody that you can share your concerns and your worries with that will be able to help you. There may be things that I say that might spark a little bit of like, oh yeah, I could try that. But if you are really feeling heavily overwhelmed by things that are going on in your life and you really feel like you can't cope with them, then you need to seek some help. However, I'm going to keep things sort of a higher level, although, being overwhelmed can cause anxiety and depression. It can cause you to not think logically or clearly. It can affect your relationships, it can affect your job, your work, because you struggle to see light at the end of the tunnel, if you like. Things can get so much for you in life that you struggle to see a way through. And I struggle with that, particularly in my day-to-day life when things get busy. And I'm not just talking, a lot of you are saying, oh, we all have a busy life, pull yourself together. But I'm talking about like crazily busy that you cannot see how you could possibly do everything that is there that needs to be done. I get to the point sometimes where I look at my diary and there is so much happening that I just want to close it and bury my head in the sand and go, I can't deal with it. I can't cope with all of this stuff. There is too much happening. I can't do it. Help. And there are things that I have learnt over the years and things that I know now help me deal with those situations. So it's not always just about a busy life. Sometimes it can be busy at work. So, I can see, particularly certain times of the year in the job that I do. I work full-time, by the way. This is a hobby for me, this YouTube thing. So yeah, I work full-time as well. And I also run an Avon business. There are times when there is just so much going on. I have two incredibly busy children. My daughter dances 5 days a week. My son goes to orchestras and sports clubs and all sorts. So, we are a super, super busy family, but I only have two children. I can't imagine what it would be like if I had 4 children who did all of those things. That would be even more overwhelming. So anyway, I'm going to start off with the tips, things that I have found help me deal with particularly busy times and times when life just gets a little bit too much and I feel like I can't cope. So I've got a list here, so if I look down, that's why. So first of all, telling someone can always help. Just sharing and offloading on someone. And I don't mean, so I struggle sometimes. I might say to Andrew, oh, I can't cope, and all this is happening, and he'll start trying to fix things. And actually that just makes things worse. I need to be able to fix them in my own head and sort out and plan and everything. I just want to offload and tell somebody how stressed I am or how much things are worrying me, so that then if I do need them to help with a particular thing, then they know why. So yeah, telling someone, problem shared is a problem halved and all that. Telling your other half, your best friend, your mum, your dad, somebody can always help. Just sometimes saying it out loud can make you feel like you can cope a little bit more. It may not, sometimes it might seem 10 times worse when you start saying it out loud, but sometimes you think, oh, actually, yeah, I could do that, and yeah, I could do that. So sometimes just telling somebody can really, really help. Tip number 2 is to write things down. Make a to-do list. You know, sometimes my to-do lists are pages and pages and pages long, but when I have written them down, it just makes it easier for me to look at a glance and see, right, okay, this is what I've got to do. And then that takes me on to my next point, which is to prioritize. Find things on that list that, there may be some quick wins on that list. Things that you could do super quick, get them out of the way, tick them off, and then move on. There may be things that you could cancel, things that really aren't that important that maybe you could leave to another time. I always think it's important to do things for yourself, but sometimes, you know, I might have a hair appointment and I just can't see how I can fit that in. That 3 hours that I would sit in the hairdressers, I could do so much more. I could clean the house and then I'd feel happier at home. I could, you know, go and do the food shop, whatever it might be. Although those 3 hours would be good for me, sometimes I think actually that's not essential right now. There are other things that I would do that would make me feel better right now. So I could cancel that hair appointment and do 5 or 6 things on my list in those 3 hours and do my hair another time when life isn't quite so busy. The next tip I have is probably easier said than done, and that is to think logically. But to think about you and your history as a person and what you have achieved when things have been like this in the past. So, for example, when it's a work thing, you know, when it's, I've got so much work to do, I don't know how I'm going to get it all done. Have I ever, in the past, not got stuff done? No, it always just happens. It always gets done. I always manage to find time. I never get to the point where I haven't done something for somebody, or, you know, I've failed on a task because I didn't manage to complete it. They always get done. And sometimes I think just thinking like that does make you feel a bit like, do you know what, it will happen. I will get it done because I've never not got it done before. You know, I've always managed to achieve it, so I will achieve it. It's just going to take some jiggery pokery and moving things around and making sure I make time for this, that and the other, and actually thinking logically, it will get done. And by making that list and prioritizing allows you the space to get those things done. My son at the moment is studying for his GCSEs which will start in a couple of months' time, and we've done him a little timetable and discussed with him how much work he can realistically do in a day. Now, when I was studying for my GCSEs, I probably got up in the morning and just worked solidly throughout the day. Now, how much of that time was productive, I don't know. We've sat down with Archie and said, right, what realistically can you achieve? He started off at 2 hours a day. We think perhaps he could probably do a little bit more than 2 hours a day. We're talking about in the holidays and his study leave, not when he's at school. And so we've agreed on 4 hours, and he's decided when he wants to do those 4 hours and how he wants that split up. And we've then made him a little timetable so he can work to that and stick to that. And it's made it a lot more achievable for him, and he's not now looking, you know, sorry, the dog is barking at somebody. So he's not now looking ahead and thinking, oh, I've got these exams and it's all so overwhelming and it's so much work to do. He's got it in little chunks and he knows what he needs to do and when to get the results that he wants to get. Okay, my next tip is to delegate. Find somebody else that can take on some of the load if you've just got too much to cope with. If you're working and you've got work tasks to complete, then is there somebody else that could maybe, I don't know, collect the children from school one day and take them back to their house and give them tea so that you can get on with your work? Is there somebody else that could cook dinner for you? Could you use some quick wins and, hey, do you know what, let's have McDonald's tonight because I need to do some extra work and I just haven't got time to sit and cook a meal. Can somebody else in your family cook your meal? If you follow me on Instagram, and you've seen last week, Andrew cooked dinner for 5 nights of the week, and it made such a huge difference to me, knowing, you know, we were so busy, and knowing that when I came back from dance or wherever it is that I had been, that there was dinner just there done. I didn't have to come back and then start cooking and then start doing the other things that I had to do in the evening. So delegate, find some jobs that, you know, other people could do. So I get up at 6 in the morning so that I can have a little workout and then have some time to do some scrolling through my phone, or just some time to myself before the day starts. But I could get up at 6 and start working at that time, but I find that actually having that half an hour or to an hour to myself is a lot more beneficial than sitting down and starting work or rushing around trying to clean the house at that time. I did start getting up at 6, doing my workout, and then making the kids pack lunches and getting their bags packed and ready for school and things like that. And then I thought, why am I doing this? Why am I using time that I could be doing other things or just chilling out to do things that they could be doing themselves? They are old enough. So now the children make their own lunches. They should make them the night before. Generally they don't, they make them in the morning, but that's fine. As long as it gets done and I'm not having to do it, then that's great. So there are little things that I can delegate, give to other people, and make it easier on me so that I don't have to take the full load myself. As I mentioned before, I do Avon. I have a small Avon business. It's not big. I only have sort of 20 to 30 customers. But as a family, we tend to do like the book deliveries or the collecting of the books at the weekends. We do it together as a family. You know, I'll drive around, the kids will jump out, get the books, bring them back in, or we'll go and take deliveries together. And it just makes it a lot more enjoyable and a lot less stressful knowing that there are people to do it with me. It doesn't take us long and we can get it done quickly, and I can tick that off my list. My next tip is to break things down. Now, it might be month by month, it might be week by week, it might be day by day or hour by hour. It depends, you know, what it is that you're feeling overwhelmed about, what it is that is consuming you, and how long that stretches out in front of you. For me personally, at the moment, certainly, we have so much going on over the next 4 weeks. If I listed it here, I would be sat here for 20 minutes telling you about all the things we have going on, with festivals and music festivals and dance festivals and auditions and concerts and shows, and I mean, it just goes on and on. It's not just for the children as well. I'm in a couple of shows and festivals as well, so it's not just for them, it's for me too. There are rehearsals to go to. There is so much, and I look at my diary and I think, how are we going to get through all of this? How am I going to get through this without passing out? There is so much to do, and I just stop looking at anything too far ahead. So we are just going week by week at the moment. So we're currently in half term. I am working, Archie's revising, Phoebe is at several different things this week, which I have to take her to and pick her up from and things like that. Got to fit my work day in there as well, and it's not too bad. You know, I'm not doing the school run every day. That's great. That's something that, you know, gives me so much more time. But we are still doing lots of other things. But this week, I am dealing with this week from Monday to Sunday, and I'm not worrying about what's happening next week. And I will worry about that probably on Sunday when I have to start thinking about, Phoebe's off on a residential course next week. So on Sunday, I have to think about packing her bags and making sure we've got everything ready for her. But I'll worry about that then. I'm not thinking too much about that now. I'm just dealing with this week. And then at the end of next week, I'll look at the following week and think about how we get things sorted. There are certain things that are happening that we need to plan in advance, like World Book Day. That's happening. Phoebe luckily has already decided what she's going as, and has, I think we have a costume already at home, so that's great. So, you know, there are certain things that you can do just to help yourself. If you're worried about things like World Book Day and stuff, just find an easy costume. Order one off Amazon. Tesco's have got loads. As long as the child is happy and it's easy, then we don't have to go getting amazing costumes that cost the earth or take weeks to prepare. So yeah, break things down, make them in bite-sized chunks. If it's just a work project that you're doing and it's going to take you 3 days, right? What am I doing today? What am I doing this morning? What am I doing in the first hour? How am I going to prepare for this project? What do I do? Do I plan first? do I then start with this, or do I, you know, who do I need to speak to? If you break things down, make them more achievable, then things are often a lot easier to cope with. And just going back to when I said about telling someone or discussing things with someone, you know, could you perhaps work with someone else? Would it help if you sat down with somebody else who's doing a similar thing and did it together? You know, sometimes, I mean, I work from home, I work alone. Sometimes it's nice just to go and work with somebody else and not have to just have that burden all on myself. We work with lots of clients around the country, and we have a new project coming up with quite a difficult client, and I just couldn't think about how I could be creative. I'm a marketing manager, by the way, and I couldn't think of anything creative. I just couldn't think about how we were going to achieve this promotion that they wanted. And so I rang my boss, or emailed my boss, and I just said, look, can we meet and discuss this together? And within about 10 minutes of us sitting down and talking through it, I'd come up with an idea, and it was just so much a better way of doing it, rather than sitting at home and sitting there going, I can't do it. Just went, chatted with somebody, shared our ideas. Suddenly it was like, oh, light bulb moment, and it was sorted. Now we've got to actually make it work. But at least that part of it, I was able to work through with somebody else, and that definitely helps. Okay, my next tip would be to switch off. And I don't mean here, I mean here. As I mentioned earlier, I get up early in the morning and I have my sort of half hour, 40 minutes in with my cup of tea, and I scroll through Instagram and get that out of the way. I catch up on everything I need to catch up on, and then I tend to not really go on Instagram again probably until the evening. I might go on at lunch when I'm having a bit of lunch just to catch up or whatever, but you can, if you have an Instagram account, if you're into Facebook or social media. I mean, it's part of my job, so I am constantly working in social media. But if you are trying to do something, sometimes when things get very overwhelming, we can just put it off. We can just think, oh, I've got no time, and then you find yourself scrolling through Instagram and stuff, and I've got no time, but why am I doing this? Why am I sitting here scrolling through my phone? I need to just be getting on with the things I need to get on with. But sometimes our mind just can't cope with all of the things that we have to do, that we can't think clearly enough to tell ourselves, look, switch off, delete. A lot of people delete the app. They turn it off, they'll turn off their phone, and then get on with the things that they need to get on with. You know, you could even switch off your emails from a certain amount of time in the day. I know I used to work for a health club company, and as managers, they used to switch off our emails between, I think it was between 9 and 3. So in a busy time of the day where we had to just get work done, have meetings, you know, look after the club, whatever it was we were doing, in those times we couldn't access our emails. And then at 3 o'clock, they'd all come flooding in, but you get before 9 o'clock in the morning and after 3 o'clock in the evening to deal with the things you had to deal with. So, I mean, that's not going to work for everybody. You might rather keep on top of your emails as they come in and deal with them, rather than having to do it in one bulk block. But some people found that worked really well. So yeah, if that helps you, you could turn your emails off, have a block of time where I'm not going to be interrupted. I'm going to put my out of office on. I need to get on with this job, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to switch off everything that's going to interrupt me, and I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to get it done. And that could be a really good tip for just helping you focus. And I think my next tip is to sort of be realistic. Sometimes when you see that there's so much to be done, that there's so much going on, you think, I can't do it. And actually, when you start the jobs and you get them done, they're actually not as big as you thought they were. The amount of times that I've been in that situation where I thought, oh, I can't do it, there's so much to do. And then I've sat down and I've ticked about 4 things off my list within an hour. I think, oh, actually it wasn't that bad. And I've said to Andrew, you know, I've said to him, oh, I'm really busy today, don't call me, you know, or I can't possibly do that. And then by 1 o'clock, I thought, oh, I've done most of my things, because I was able to just get on with it. I was able to put everything else to one side and just focus on the jobs that needed to be done. And actually, they just got done, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So sometimes we do make things bigger than they are. We make things more stressful than they need to be, because it just seems so much. But when we break it down and we just get on with it, and we focus and we prioritize and make that list and get rid of the stuff that really didn't need to be done, then actually the jobs that are important do just happen and they get done. I talked a little bit about quick wins earlier, but there are things that, you know, I find sometimes, and think I said this, I did 10 tips for keeping focused when you work from home video. I'll link it below in case you work from home. But I found that, you know, if there were things like the bathrooms needed cleaning, or, you know, the carpets needed hoovering, or there were little jobs, housework jobs like that, I found that once I dropped the kids at school, because I dropped them at 8, I could get home and get those things done quickly in half an hour, so that those things aren't on my list. They're just done. They're done straight away in the morning. I don't have to worry about it. You know, as we get out of bed in the morning, beds are made, everything's sort of tidied up, washing up's done before we go on the school run. So by 8:30, 8:45, all the sort of houseworky type jobs and the things that are just lingering there in the back of your mind that make your head cloudy and fuzzy and think, oh, I've got all this stuff to do, I've got all this stuff to do. They're not that important, but they're things that you can they're quick wins. They're things that you can just tick off and go, oh, I don't have any of that to do. It's done. I can focus on the important stuff now and not worry about all of those things. So that would be a real tip from me, is to, if there's little things that can be done quickly, just get them done. Get them done first thing, get them out of the way, and then you can focus on the big stuff. I think I've got 2 more tips that are linked, I suppose, but I think certainly my next tip would be to look after yourself in the process. We often forget to look after ourselves when life is busy, life is hectic, life is stressful, when things get too much. We put ourselves at the end of the list, at the very bottom of the list, when we should be, you know, a lot higher up, if not at the top of the list. If you're not looking after yourself, then how can you think clearly, be productive, do the things that you've got to do? Now, it can be very difficult to find time to look after yourself, and I mentioned earlier about cancelling hair appointments. You know, a 3-hour hair appointment might not be possible, but I could have a half-hour hot bubble bath at the end of the day with a glass of wine. That could be possible, and that would be very beneficial to me at the end of a day, to chill out and just so that I can get a good night's sleep. Because sometimes I think when all this stuff is going on in your head, sleeping can be very, very difficult, because you suddenly think, oh yeah, but I've also got that to do, and oh, I haven't done that, and oh, I've got and it just becomes too much. And especially when we are super busy during the day, we're rushing from here to here to here to here. You get home and you're still going, everything's still going on. And if you can just relax and have a bubble bath, or, you know, a glass of wine, or if not wine, glass of Diet Coke, or whatever you want to have, I don't know. But just to chill and take half-hour, 40 minutes for yourself at the end of the day, where you are de-stressing. You know, you might, my other half listens to the Calm app. He finds that helps him doze off at bedtime, or just de-stress at the end of the day, and things like that can really help. And during the day, you know, I have a dog who is just down here, who's regularly in my videos, but, you know, getting out at lunchtime to take him for a walk. I got to the point when work was really, really busy, especially just before Christmas, where I wasn't able to I haven't got time to take the dog. Now, he's a little tiny dog, so he doesn't need to be walked every day. He needs to go out. He can go in the garden, he runs around the house. He doesn't have to be walked every day, but it's good for him and it's good for me. So I made a promise to myself that that wouldn't happen anymore. That when I'm home, I am working at home, I make half an hour to go out and take him for a walk. I can get some fresh air, I can clear my head, have a break from the laptop, break from the screen, and it's good for me to just get out. And it's the same for everybody. You know, if you just get time away, even if it's for 10-15 minutes, that is really important, because your mind can only take so much. You can only focus for so long. So taking time away, really important. You know, and other things that you can just give yourself little treats during the day. Have a piece of cake. Have an extra cup of tea. I don't know, have you got half an hour just to go and meet a friend for a quick coffee and just offload a little bit and then come back and then crack on? You know, try and make little pockets of time throughout the day where you can just look after yourself. And just before I go on to the final tip, there was one other thing that I wanted to add, and that is to not be afraid to say no to people. I am not good at saying no. I quite often just don't say anything, because that's easier than saying no. But if somebody suggests something and you just say, I can't take anything more on, I physically cannot do anything else, even if it's a nice thing, sometimes it's just I can't fit anything more in. I'd love to do that. I'd love to go out for lunch with you. I'd love to go out for a night out with you, but I cannot do it now. When I get to the end of this, you know, massive stuff that I've got to do, then I would love to go out for dinner with you. Let's make a date for, you know, 6 weeks time. But right now I can't do that. And most friends will understand if it's a friend or if it's a work colleague and they've asked you to do something. Say, look, I will do my best, but I'm not promising you I can get that done because there is so much else to do and these things are more important, but I will get to your thing as soon as I'm able. And you put it at the bottom of your list. But to say no is okay, because you're better off to say no and then be able to do the things that you have got to do really, really well than say yes, take on more and more and more stuff and then actually not be able to do any of it. So don't be afraid to say no when people ask you to do things, whether it be work things, whether it be fun things, whatever it is. If you physically can't fit it in or you can't see how you can fit it in without getting too stressed, then just say, no, not right now. I can do it another time, but not at the moment. Okay, so my last thing is to give yourself something to look forward to at the end of whatever it is that you're working on or whatever it is that's causing you this feeling of overwhelm, this feeling of there's so much in my life I can't cope with it. Think of something to do at the end, and it might be that thing is nothing. I've got a week of completely nothing coming up, and that would be amazing. I had this the last time I was feeling like there was too much going on and I couldn't cope with it was probably just before Christmas, when we just packed so much in. Again, at the end of terms, it always seems to be that the kids have so much going on, and not only did we have all these things which kept popping up, oh, there's this concert and there's that concert and there's this show and there's that, all these things kept popping up, I'd packed in a load of lovely Christmassy stuff for us to do as well, and with all of that together it was like, oh my goodness, there's so much to do. And it got to the point where people were saying, are you looking forward to Christmas? I was like, no, I'm really, really not looking forward to Christmas. What I'm looking forward to is the day after Boxing Day, when all of this stuff ends and I can do nothing. And boy, did we do nothing. I actually got to the point where I was a little bit bored. I'm like, I've been doing all this stuff and I'm juggling all this stuff, and now I've got very little to fill my time, and I'm not quite sure what to do with myself, but I soon learned how to relax and to stop. So it might be that you just get yourself a week of nothing. It might be that you book yourself a little holiday, or, you know, a day shopping with friends, or, you know, I don't know, a spa day or something. But not straight away, not within this pocket of stuff that there's so much to do. Give yourself a bit of time and then book something lovely to do. And I think that generally gives us just something to keep us going. Like, I've got all this stuff, but at the end of it, I've got that to look forward to. And I always find that helps me get through the tough times if there's something great happening at the other end of it. So those are my top tips for helping if you're just feeling like life is getting on top of you. As a mum, it happens a lot to me. As a mum of older children particularly, I think when the children were smaller, although life was difficult, you know, every age of your children comes with its own difficulties and its own trials and challenges. But I found as the children get older and they are doing more, the reliability on me as a parent, and well, us, Andrew and myself as parents, to be there for them and take them places and do stuff gets more and more difficult, and life gets more and more and more busy. And these tips have really helped us deal with busy times and just get through them and enjoy them, because, you know, yeah, work is one thing and I love my job and I do enjoy it, and if I can enjoy the process of getting heavy work projects done, then that's great. You know, if you can enjoy your job, that's a brilliant thing. And, you know, the things that children are involved in are great, they're wonderful. I want to enjoy them. I want to enjoy going to their concerts and seeing them perform and not feel like it's just too much. So if I implement these little tips, it means that I can actually enjoy that time and not feel like it's just too much to cope with. So I hope this video has maybe been a bit of a help to you. If not, then maybe you've just picked up a few tips, but I hope you've enjoyed it nonetheless. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe down below if you're not already, and I look forward to seeing you next time.